Hey, this is Steve Nuttall, and we are very honored here to be at Warrior Days here in Price, Utah, in the beautiful Carbon County. And I have two very special guests today. I have Jake Miller, one of the Carbon County commissioners, with us, and our very special guest, country music star Daryl Worley. And Jake, what was the reasoning behind Warrior Days? I am so impressed and so blown away at how this has came together and how great it's been. I know that we've done the 4th of July stuff down here before, but this is new, right? This is a new festival building around the 4th of July.
Steve, you're absolutely correct. We wanted to do something a little more patriotic. In fact, from the community, we heard from many members here that we needed to have a patriotic parade. We needed to celebrate our freedom and our veterans, and not just our veterans, but our first responders, as well as all those people who struggle from day to day. People with special needs, people with PTSD, people who are struggling with the economy, with jobs, and get together and celebrate life, celebrate what we've overcome. In some of these small communities, especially our community being a coal mining community, and the last 8 years war on coal, a lot of us have been soldiers just trying to survive. Personally, Steve, you've asked and inquired a few times, and I joined the military right after September 11th, right after the towers fell. They fell, and by December I was enlisted. My family, there's a long history of military service. I had a grandpa in the Navy, another grandpa who was a Marines special combat instructor. And my father, my uncles, in fact, when I went to Iraq, I served with 3 cousins and an uncle.
That's awesome.
And, so what we want to bring to this community and what they've been asking for is what we've been accomplishing. We had a bull riding event yesterday. We had a very patriotic parade with 26 entries and a good crowd, a good showing. We were very excited to have Daryl Worley here.
Thank you.
Specifically because September 11th, and do we remember? It was a very meaningful time in my life, and I wouldn't have been able to pull this together without the 3 main volunteers who made it all possible. The best thing I ever did in attempting to make this work was to get Kara Hillam, Valerie Marietti, and Rachel Crumple on board. These volunteers have put in some of their own money.
Wow.
These volunteers have put in countless hours, sometimes up to 45 hours a week, aside from their normal jobs, towards making Warrior Days happen. Typically, events like this take a year of advanced planning. We pulled it together in 3 months. And Daryl, I just want to thank you on such late notice, helping us make this event happen.
Oh, I'm honored to be here, be a part of it, I promise you. Especially after hearing your remarks. And thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, I'm wearing our American Legion hat. Tonight we're going to be honoring a veteran who is 100 years old. He served in World War II in Korea. He was a prisoner of war. We have 3 or 4 other veterans that are going to be around a VIP table that we have for them. It's going to be a real special moment, special event tonight. So
thanks for letting me be part of it.
You are a key and a vital part of it, and this is for Carbon County. This is for our community, and this also gives others outside of our community to come here and see what life is like for us, and to see the values that we appreciate.
Well, you know what? I've been with you through this adventure for a couple months now, helping and everything, and I can't tell you how much and what good you guys have done a great job. I mean, you guys have really done fantastic. It's came together. I mean, I think better than anybody expected. I mean, you guys really. I tip my cap to you. You guys have been phenomenal and done a great job. And I myself, I mean, thank you for your service. I mean, that's what this is all about. It's all, treating everybody like you want to be treated, and we couldn't have asked a better man to come in to do that. And I've worked with Daryl in the past, and very honored to have you here, Daryl. And Jake, I really appreciate the work that you've done, and your assistants. I mean, I've worked with them, and they are phenomenal. So thank you so much for inviting us to come down and do this in your town, and we really appreciate it. But
hey, to me, he looks too young to be in a position like this. I may be crazy, but but to hear him speak, you know, he's doing it for the right reasons. And I'm telling you, if you're taking care of your community, you're still serving. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. And Daryl, I just want to get into a few topics. I mean, obviously, we had our first record label in 1999 with DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you got to that point? What happened?
Man, it's a long story, but the short version of it is, you know, once I'll leave out all the 15 years before Nashville. You know, everybody thinks that when you come onto the scene in country music that you just hit it or you just move there, and that's not usually the way it goes. I put a lot of years into music and live shows and songwriting before anything ever happened. But once I got to Nashville, I came there because of a really incredible staff writers production deal type situation with EMI Music, which at that time they were the #1 country publisher in the world. And so I was blown away by the fact that they would sign me, but I went there as a songwriter. Upon turning in my first demo session, they asked me, the production company asked me, you know, do you want to get a demo singer? And I said, well, how much does that cost? And they told me, and I said, no, I'm not going to spend $75 a song when I can sing them myself. And so I just sang the demos and did some of the harmony parts and stuff. And but I worked with the guys there at the EMI studio, and about a week passed, and I got a phone call from the main man that ran the Nashville office, and he said, I need you to come in and talk to me. So I went in, and he said, we heard these demos, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be making your own records, and we want to get you a record deal. And I said, you know, Gary, I said, I appreciate all that, and I said, but, you know, I'm 35 years old, and I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I've already been down all those roads, production deals, everything else. I said, you know, I'm going to sit my music aside for another 2 years. I'll be 37 then, pushing 40. I don't have anything. I said, I'm looking to get my life on track and start, you know, putting some things back for a future. And he said, so your last production deal was 2 years? I said, yeah, ain't that what? He said, give us 6 months. And I said, 6 months you can have. I said, I can't get a song cut in that length of time. But so I gave them 6 months, and they got me a record deal. That's the very, very short version of this story.
So were you thinking about quitting playing and just becoming a songwriter at that point?
Well, they had paid me enough that I could move to Nashville, which was actually part of the deal. I didn't really want to move to Nashville. I was comfortable in my home area, and you know, I had lots of people in Muscle Shoals that I could write songs with, but they did specifically ask in my contracts that I move to Nashville to make the commitment and be there for the publishing company and the songwriting thing, because there's a lot of networking that goes into it, even if you're just a songwriter. So yeah, in my thought process at that time, I was leaving some of that live stuff behind to really get serious about pursuing a songwriting career.
Awesome. Well, in 2003, you came out with a monster hit, Have You Forgotten? And I've seen you play, and I know how patriotic you are, and just some of the events that you played at before, asking military's families that have lost a loved one out there in the battle and stuff like that, asking to talk to them and stuff. That's really meant a lot to me. In fact, I'm getting goosebumps right now. But just the stuff that you do, and that song was such a monster. I mean, what was your first thoughts when you heard and knew that you had a big hit of something that is just so important to you to push out there?
You know, a lot of people don't know the story behind that song, and the truth of the matter is it was a God thing as far as I'm concerned, because we had nothing to do, not the record label, not the songwriters. I sat down with Win Varble. We just had released a new album, and it was out there doing well. We'd had a #1 song with I Miss My Friend, and so on and so forth. And I sat down with Win Varble, and we wrote this song, Have You Forgotten? And I just told him, I said, I just want to put it on an album, and I want the guys and the gals that I just went to visit in Afghanistan that have given it all for us to hear what we think about their sacrifices, to know that we care enough about. And it goes back to what he said. It's a family thing. I mean, I was raised up in that atmosphere, surrounded by soldiers and Navy men, and we had a few Marine Corps guys, a couple of Air Force guys, but for most part it was Navy and Army. And but I mean, I had heroes in my life. from World War II and Korea and Vietnam, and still do have some of those. So to do those things and to go to the war zone and entertain was just, I mean, that was like, if somebody asked you or gave you that opportunity and you said no, who would you be? I mean, what kind of person would you be if you could do it? And so we went, as you well know, we wound up doing it many, many, many times. And but part of that was that they knew my history and they knew that I was affiliated with the military through my family channels. And then part of the rest of the time was because Have You Forgotten was such a phenomenon. But that song was never released. About 3 days after we wrote the song, I decided to play it one night at the Grand Ole Opry. We were out at the Ryman, and my manager was there, and he really wasn't into the whole idea of us playing that song because I had just written it. I was literally in the dressing room at the Ryman teaching it to the band.
No kidding.
And he goes, "You can't do this." I said, "Yes, we can do this. This is what we do." I said, "It's 3 chords, Ted. It's not like it's rocket science."
Right.
I said, "By the time we get downstairs, they'll know this better than me." And so we went down on Friday night and played the song, and the whole building just erupted. And I was like, I mean, because we'd played it for a few people up to that point, but nobody really said anything all that much about it. You know, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's very cool." That's about it, you know. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I got a cool song, and I'll put it on my album, and then I can tell the troops to listen. And we play. So Pete Fisher, that was running the Opry at the time, came to me after that show that night and said, "Look, we're having a televised portion tomorrow night, and all the veterans will be here, and I mean, and some of the same guys you see out there tonight." And he said, "I'd just love for you to come back and play that song on the TV portion." And I said, "You know, what's bad about being invited back to the Opry again the next night to be on TV?" I said, "Heck yeah, we'll be here." It's truth. When we played the song on Saturday night, the response was even bigger and more radical, and the cameras were everywhere, and it all went out over TV. And on Monday morning, when we came back into the office, the song that I had out on the radio that was doing fine was